반짝이는 눈빛 눈이 부셔 매일 날 감싸주는 손길.
Yoon Se-young made her way to a hotel suite that had been arranged by Goo Ji-seok. The hallway was quiet with only the soft sound of her footsteps on the carpet, but inside she felt uneasy. She couldn't help but feel guilty thinking about Hwang Jin Goo, but more than that, she was filled with desire and anxiety. When she entered the room, Goo Ji-seok was already waiting, pouring himself a drink. He asked her if her journey had been uncomfortable and she nodded briefly, brushing off the question. Then, she asked why she had been called there. Goo Ji-seok set his glass down and leaned back in his chair, eyeing her with a cold yet relaxed gaze. He told her that once Hwang Jin Goo was no longer in control of Hyesung Hotel, she would be overshadowed too, and that it wouldn't be in her interest. Then he suggested she prove that she was better than Hwang Jin Goo. Yoon Se-young responded with a challenge in her eyes. Goo Ji-seok chuckled and walking to the window to admire the city view, said that cooperation should come first if she wanted to test his abilities. He proposed that she stay close to Hwang Jin Goo, bring him what he needed, and in exchange, she would get what she wanted. Despite knowing the risk, Yoon Se-young agreed but made it clear that if she felt she was losing, she'd walk away. Goo Ji-seok smiled, confident that someone like her wouldn't make a losing deal. The two exchanged a silent look, a bond forming between them built on betrayal and desire. He then asked her if Hwang Jin Goo still trusted her. Yoon Se-young replied confidently that he did, maybe too much. Goo Ji-seok's smile deepened and he asked her to hand over the materials Hwang Jin Goo would use for his defense strategy. Yoon Se-young agreed but emphasized that she needed to maintain her position clearly. The two toasted to their agreement and the plan to betray Hwang Jin Goo began to take shape. Meanwhile, inside Hyesung Hotel, Hwang Jin Goo sat in a conference room looking at the board summarizing the status of supply contracts. The red cancellations of major trading companies caught his attention. He couldn't believe it. 3 companies had cancelled their contracts in 1 week. Hwang Jin Goo knew that something was amiss and suspected someone had interfered intentionally. After a brief silence, he ordered his team to visit the companies and try to persuade them to return to the contracts. At the Hyesung Group headquarters, Goo Ji-seok reviewed the information Yoon Se-young had provided. He now had everything he needed: details on the contracts, vulnerable points, and alternative supply chains. His plans were coming together. Danny, his assistant, updated him on the pressure he'd placed on the companies. Goo Ji-seok was pleased but remained focused, ready to see how Hwang Jin Goo would respond. He was determined to stay one step ahead. Meanwhile, Hwang Jin Goo, worried about the spy issue, began to look more closely at the people around him, especially Yoon Se-young. She was acting more kind and attentive than usual, but he didn't suspect her. Yoon Se-young, however, was calculating her next move. She knew she had to stick with Goo Ji-seok, who she believed would help her get ahead. A few days later, Hwang Jin Goo decided to leak some false information to Yoon Se-young. He wanted to see if she would pass it on, confirming his suspicions. He carefully explained the details of a project that, on the surface, seemed important but he knew it wasn't. Yoon Se-young listened carefully, pretending to be interested. But inside, she was already planning how to use this information for her alliance with Goo Ji-seok.
'Cause you are beautiful.